I think Cam Ward had some more Heisman moments. That pass early on in the game to Jacoby George in the back of the end zone was just magnificent. Shout out to Restrepo too for moving his way up and breaking some records today.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. He broke school records. So did Cam Ward today too, didn't he? Didn't he become like the first Miami player to throw for over 300 yards and so many?
Oh yeah, he did it. He did it because Tyler Van Dyke had matched Jameis Winston's record. So I don't know if that's a school record, but it is an ACC record.
Yeah, it's a Miami record. It would be an ACC record too, I think. So,
and shout out to the running game today. Mark Fletcher and Damian Martinez both, and even AJ Allen there towards the end of the game in the third and fourth quarter. The run game that I've been looking for seemed to be firing on all cylinders today.
Yeah, I mean, people tried to tell us that they were worried about, we can't run the ball, we can't run the ball, we can't run the ball. Well, we ran for 220 yards today. And
I had complained about the run game, and I had talked about how lopsided it had been, first half versus second half stats.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm not saying you. I'm just saying, like, we've seen it in the comments and people on Twitter talking about, why can't this Miami team run the ball? Why can't we run the ball consistently? Well, we did that today. You had Damian Martinez, 12 carries, 89 yards, 7.5 yards per carry, plus that crazy run where he carried like 4 defenders into the end zone.
Wow, that was running like a man on that play.
And he did that. He had another run where he also did that, where he carried like 6 guys down to like the 8-yard line. Mark Fletcher, 13 for 73 yards. Allen, for the one drive he came in, 5 carries, 31 yards, a tough touchdown run, and 6 yards per carry. I mean, what more can you ask?
That's 3 running backs that average over 6 yards a carry in a game.
No, Mark Fletcher had 5.6, but still, like,
was it 5.6? Okay, almost 6.
Yeah, 5.5 yards per carry. That's still great. Like,
I'll take 5.5 yards a carry every single day and twice on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, Louisville's run stats are a bit skewed because Tyler Shuck got sacked 4 times for a loss of 32 yards. But yeah, our run defense did not show up great today. Isaac Brown, the star true freshman, had 9 carries for 56 yards and a touchdown. Now, granted, if you take away that 43-yard rushing touchdown that he had in the first quarter, his stats dip a little bit, but you can't take that away. It happened.
Listen, they had 101 yards rushing total for the game. I'm never gonna take a defense's lunch money for only allowing 100 yards rushing in a game. Never.
I will take their lunch money when you allow Tyler Shuck to throw for 342 yards and 4 touchdowns, though.
Well, that's not the rush defense. That's our secondary, which we all pointed to in the offseason, and we've lamented about, over the last 3 games this season. We knew the secondary was going to be a problem.
Mm-hmm. And it showed up today. I mean, Ja'Cory Brooks, I don't want to be hyperbolic here. Him look like Jerry fucking Rice out there. I mean, he had 6 receptions for 107 yards and 2 touchdowns. Chris Bell, 5 catches for 77 yards. I mean, they had 3 receivers go over 50 yards, and they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different receivers catch a football today. And it was just play after play after play where you were just seeing guys running wide open, and apparently we can't cover a slant. Like, we can't cover a slant.
Well, we were talking about this earlier, and I agree, and most people knew this. We've talked about it. That roster still isn't where we need it to be, and I do think they're having to force guys like Malinois at linebacker to play coverage. And let's be honest, much like Romeo Finley a few years ago, he's a little too big to be trying to drop into coverage. I mean, it's a tall ask for him to try and keep up with a receiver or a slot guy. Whenever he gets lined up as a tight end against a tight end, I don't necessarily have a problem with it. But in general, trying to get him in coverage, that's a tough ask for that big guy. It really is.
Yeah, and I
how many times are we going to get? How many times are we going to get beat on that? Like at the beginning of the game, it seems like they run the ball. Every team seems to do this to it. They do that little sweep, run and take it down. Every game, it seems like we get burned. So
because our linebackers aren't fast enough to sideline keep up with it.
Yeah,
and that was put on film by Virginia Tech. In that Virginia Tech game, it was put on film. Like, oh, Miami's linebackers, they can't cover sideline to sideline like that. They don't have the speed.
Yeah, we just don't. And like I said, that should have been something all of us knew coming into the season, that this roster still isn't where we want it to be yet as in its totality. And the linebackers we have are very good. I'm not trying to knock them. They're very good at what they do, but these guys in general are not coverage linebackers.
Yeah. Devon, I understand where you're coming from, man. We won. Shut the fuck up. But like, our job on here is, yeah, we're happy that we're 7-0, but we have to point out what we see. And what we see is that defensively, 45 points, even though Louisville's a very good offense and Jeff Brom is good at scheming plays up, if this was a one-time thing, if we had been able to shut down Cal and shut down Virginia Tech, and today they put up 45 points, okay, that's fine, whatever. Like, every defense has a stinker, and sometimes you're going to run into an offense that can just counter you. But this is now 3 weeks in a row where we have seen explosive plays hit, where we have seen our secondary get cooked. It's not a one-off. It's now an issue, and it's an issue we need to talk about.
Although I would like to congratulate you, Devon, for being our first contestant for the Debbie Downer Award. Good Lord. What, are we supposed to act like everything is rainbows and sunshine?
Yeah, I mean, happy we're 7-0. I thought we'd be 5-2. You can go back to the preview stream that we did before the season. I picked us to lose to Virginia Tech and Louisville. And guess what? We could have lost those games because the defense wasn't good enough.
And Michael Ramirez is absolutely right. Louisville's offense is much better than Cal's. Cal's entire offense for that game was 6 or 8 explosive plays, and that was it. Louisville's offense is much better. I mean, that's what Brom lives and dies on. So again, I don't know why anybody's surprised. Like, the announcers were talking about it before kickoff. They were looking for a shootout.
Yeah, what was the Vegas odds? It was what, 2.5? Wasn't that the
4.5?
Was it 4.5? Okay, well,
4.5. So I mean, we covered the spread too.
Yeah. But I mean, like you said, Slim, like, Louisville's a much better offense, and I said it earlier. I wouldn't be complaining about this, and we wouldn't be complaining about this if the defense had showed up the previous 2 weeks, and it's like, okay, that's a good Louisville offense. Jeff Brown's going to scheme some stuff up, and they threw a lot out there. They tried flea flickers, fake punts. They went for it on 4th down multiple times in their own territory. I mean, the defense got some stops, but then Louisville just pulled out their own shit. But again, it's been a consistent issue for 3 weeks. And yes, we're going to get teams best. Yes, there's Super Bowl, as everyone likes to say, but you have to be better prepared for that. And this defense needs to play better, because right now, if you keep playing like that, Cam Ward can't do this every week. He can't. You're not going to win a national championship like this.
Well, if your goal coming into this season was national championship, I realize that's the overall goal for everybody, but you might need to get your head checked.
I mean, that's not the.
I mean, we won 12 games the previous 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't my expectation. I'm not saying that was the expectation, but the goal should be national championship. Even if
of course, but yes, that's an overall goal for everybody. But there's also this nifty little thing, and I know some people have a problem with it. It's called a realistic goal.
Mm-hmm.
And you realistically don't win 12 games in 2 years and think you're going to come out and win a national title.
Yeah, and Dog, you're right. The refs were horrible today. They were, and we were talking about this backstage. I mean, Slim said it. What does it take for Ruben Bain to get a fucking holding call on him? The only time,
man. I mean, just one.
The only time Louisville got a holding called against them, it's because they slammed one of our D linemen into the ground. That's what it took.
Well, and yeah, everybody keeps, and I've already seen some of it on Twitter. Everybody keeps focusing on the plays that were reviewed, but that's 2 weeks in a row. You've had an opponent put up a touchdown that stepped out of bounds, and they didn't even bother reviewing that play.
Or you had, earlier in the game, Elijah Arroyo on a touchdown on a drive where we had to settle for a field goal. They call offensive pass interference because he's running a mesh route and he runs into a defender. That is the right call. That is the right call. Later in the game, I believe it's either third quarter or fourth quarter, you have a Louisville touchdown where a player not only runs into Francisco Malinois, he dives at his legs to impede him in his coverage. No flag. No flag. And you also another earlier where a Louisville tight end catches the ball, turns around, lunges for the first down marker. The ball comes out. We recover it. And they immediately say, no, it's incomplete. We're not even going to review it. So, yeah, ACC reffing sucks. And I know everyone's going to be like, well, the ACC refs are on your side. You had another call this week. Go your way. Yeah, that's an incomplete pass. Today, tomorrow.
That was blatantly an incomplete pass.
Like, I don't know. Like, people are just trying to stir up controversy because it's hate Miami. And it's the narrative of, oh, the refs only hate Miami. I mean, I was watching that game with my dad, and he was like, oh, I can't believe he fumbled there. I wasn't even worried for a second. I told him, that's not a fumble. Watching it live, you can tell his arm's coming forward, and it's an incomplete pass. Now, the refs didn't do the wrong thing there and letting the play out, because now if you blow it dead, you know, you've affected play there. And we've seen that before where there's plays where it's an incomplete pass, and it's clearly, but they still let the play out, so then they can go back and review it. And that's fine. They went back, reviewed it, and they got the right call.
And this is why, and I'm gonna steal this out of Jimmy Johnson's book because he's absolutely correct. You don't leave it in the refs' hands. Bad calls are built into every game that has been played or will be played in the future. Mm-hmm. Deal with it.
Yeah, people act like it's like when with the Cal game there at the end, they were like, "Oh, that should have been a roughing the passer," you know, or a whatever it was, targeting call.
Oh, targeting, yeah.
And everybody's so quick to say, well, you should have lost if not for a call. You know, it goes both ways. Everybody gets good calls. Everybody gets bad calls. I don't like to bitch about the calls at the end. One thing I do like, though, is the way that the announcers sure do seem to want us to do bad. I mean, like every time they're like, they get so excited when the other team does something. I think it's funny.
Well, and I'm not a huge Josh Pate fan, but he said something a couple weeks ago that was absolutely correct. There's a lot of recency bias and revisionist history when it comes to college football, and for all the Alabama hate that is out there because they've been good for so long, it still pales in comparison to the level of hate Miami got in their heyday. Yeah. And that obviously has not gone away.
I mean, you know they got a lot of hate back then when we were ass and people were still hating on us. I mean, I have a friend of mine who's an Alabama fan, and he was like, I hate Miami. And I was like, why? Like, you're an Alabama fan. Like the last time we played was in the 90s and you beat us. And he's like, I don't know. I just hate Miami. It's something that was passed down. It's generational hating.